What's up, y'all, and welcome to Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast presented by Old City Sports Network, the best network for all your Philadelphia sports needs. This is your host, Michael Roscoe. Today is January 2nd, 2025, and this is the first episode of the new year. I'm very glad y'all could join us as we dive into a new chapter in all of our lives. We got a good show for y'all today. We'll recap the win over Dallas, sweeping them completely this season. And in this episode, we'll change things up just a little bit as we'll get into a debate about one key offensive player, especially now that some breaking news from Wednesday's press conference has been released. But without wasting any more time, let's dive into the first segment of the episode, recapping the scoring plays of the Week 17 win. So starting with the first quarter, just under 12 minutes left to go, Dallas quarterback Cooper Rush attempts a pass, but it is picked off by safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson and taken 69 yards to the house for a pick six, the first score of the game. Eagles up 7-0. The Cowboys would get a score to tie the game with a pass from Cooper Rush to Jalen Tolbert for a 4-yard pass with nearly 6 minutes left in the quarter. It is all tied up. Moving into the second quarter with about 6.5 minutes left, we see Kenny Pickett step back, fire a pass, and it is caught for 22 yards by Devontae Smith to retake the lead. Eagles up 14-7. With under 2 minutes left, we see Jake Elliott make a 31-yard field goal to extend the lead 17-7. And in the final seconds of the half, with the ball at basically the half-yard line, we see a second attempt of the brotherly shove, and it is successful this time as Kenny Pickett gets a rushing touchdown to put the Eagles up 24-7 at the half. With about 8.5 minutes left in the game after Tanner McKee's first snap on a 3rd and 8, Jake Elliott helps extend the lead again with a 26-yard field goal. Eagles up now by 20. With under 3 minutes left in the quarter, quarterback Tanner McKee throws his first NFL touchdown pass to none other than A.J. Brown, good for 20 yards. Eagles up 34-7 at this point. Moving on to the fourth quarter, the final scoring play of the game would also come from Tanner McKee, finding Devontae Smith for a 25-yard passing catch for a touchdown, making the final score Eagles 41 to the Cowboys 7. Kenny Pickett would finish 10 for 15 for 143 yards, 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions, as well as 3 carries for 3 yards and a rushing touchdown. Our third string quarterback, Tanner McKee, would finish 3 for 4 for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, with 2 carries for a -2 yards, basically kneels in victory formation. Saquon Barkley would finish with a whopping 31 carries for 167 yards. A.J. Brown would finish with only 3 catches for 36 yards, but would get a touchdown, while the favorite target of the day, Devontae Smith, would finish the game with 6 catches for 120 yards and 2 scores. All right, y'all, let's dive into some quick Eagles news before we get into our review of that Week 17 win. Starting off, with the win against Dallas, the Eagles become the 2024 NFC East champions, continuing the divisional streak of a non-repeat division winner over the past generation. Literally 20 years. It's been insane. And the last one to repeat, none other than your Philadelphia Eagles. Additionally, after his performance against the Cowboys, safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson was crowned the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, recording 1 tackle and 2 interceptions, with one of them being that 69-yard pick six. Now, we also have a time slot for the final regular season game for the Birds. The Week 18 game will be a home match against the New York Giants, taking place January 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And finally, Dallas Goedert's 21-day practice window has been opened. Hopefully, he'll be ready in time for the playoffs, which I'm totally expecting, while another tight end, CJ Uzuma, finds himself on IR. All right, we're going to dive into the discussions, opinions, and overreactions of this Week 17 win, starting with the offense. Now, I think the offense looked great, and even with the fact that we were able to put up 41 points with our QB2 and our QB3, I still don't think that it is a result of any quarterback can play on this offense and succeed type of shit, because we saw what happened the previous week. It did not go well for us. I think it's just that we have a good quarterback committee this year. I'll be honest, I was shitting on Kenny Pickett a little bit before this game, I won't lie. But looking back on it, I guess most of the shit talk was mainly because of the outcome of that Week 16 game. Because here's the thing. On paper, Kenny Pickett's performance against Dallas was almost completely identical to the Week 16 game. Against Washington, Kenny Pickett went 14 for 24 for 143 yards, 1 touchdown to 1 interception. But then against Dallas, he went 10 for 15 for 143 yards, 1 touchdown to 0 interceptions. He had the exact same amount of yards and passing touchdowns, but an 8% difference in pass completion rate, and he didn't turn over the ball this time, which is definitely a positive in my book. But for real, the performance was pretty much identical. I just think we viewed these performances as drastically different only because of the loss one week and the win another. And then when Kenny went down, we finally got to see some regular season action from third string quarterback Tanner McKee. Now, for those who have been following the show for a while now, you'll know I've had nothing but positive things to say about Tanner McKee since we drafted him. And now I think people know why. Yes, he only threw 4 passes, but the man went 3 for 4 on those passes for merely 54 yards, but 2 touchdowns. Yes, that is right. 2 touchdowns in 4 total pass attempts. That actually means that Tanner McKee made history, becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for at least 2 touchdowns in their first 5 or fewer pass attempts. You know, we've been talking about history a lot with like Saquon Barkley lately, but I don't know if we'll see this record get broken anytime soon. An amazing job from both of our backup quarterbacks playing for the injured Jalen Hurts. Now, people have spoken tremendously about running back committees across the league, or these quarterback running back dynamic communities with Philly, with Green Bay, and with Baltimore. But now there might be a new conversation to have. Does Philadelphia have the best quarterback committee in the league? If we're basing the answer solely off that one game, which I know is not realistic, but hey, if we're basing it solely off of one game, then it is a resounding hell yeah. As for the rest of the offense, despite not getting a touchdown, we see Saquon Barkley putting up another 160-plus yard rushing game, putting him at just about 100 yards from breaking the all-time single-season rushing record, which we are going to get to the discussion about that later on, so stay tuned. Devontae Smith also had a hell of a game with 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown got a score, and even though he didn't score, Grant Calcaterra had one hell of a one-handed 34-yard catch coming from our tight end too. I'm going to say that's pretty impressive. Overall, our offense was firing on all cylinders despite the injury issues, and I hope we go into the playoffs with that level of consistency in good performance. Shifting to the defensive side of the ball, I said this in the last episode. I thought the defense was not going to get a bunch of turnovers like they did in Week 16, but I was mostly wrong. Thanks to 2 interceptions from CJ Gardner-Johnson and 2 fumble recoveries, the Birds managed to get 4 total turnovers, just 1 less than the game before, but this time they were able to do something that I mentioned in that previous episode that the defense had to do going into this game, and that was capitalizing off of those turnovers. The Birds were able to get into the end zone after turning the ball over, something that we really just couldn't do after all those turnovers against Washington, which honestly to me really contributed to that loss. They held the Cowboys to just 1 touchdown, which honestly is hard for any team to do regardless of how good or bad that team is, and I think overall the defense just did a much better job this week. All right, y'all. Y'all know the next part of the show. That is where we preview the next game, and this is the final regular season game. So let's dive into this Week 18 preview. Now, I am going to take this week taking a turn from our usual format where I talk about what the team needs to do to get the win on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. And instead, I'm going to talk about an all-important debate that has been going on for a little while now, a few days, about this next game, in particular for the Eagles. And to be honest, I had a whole ass debate on both sides of the issue, which was whether Saquon Barkley should or will play in Week 18. However, just yesterday, around 12:45 p.m., the NFL announced via Nick Sirianni and the Eagles that they will be resting Saquon Barkley, as well as a few other starters, choosing not to chase the all-time single-season rushing record. Now, there are a lot of mixed emotions regarding this decision, and I'm going to go over why personally I am both happy and sad about this decision. Starting with why I'm sad about the decision, the most important and obvious reason why I'm, feeling some type of way about it is because Saquon is only 100 yards away from breaking Eric Dickerson's record. And even though this could have been done with one more game than Eric Dickerson, Saquon could have broken it in less carries, which, mathematically matters the most. In Eric Dickerson's record-breaking season, he had 379 carries for 2,105 yards. So far, Saquon Barkley has 345 carries for 2,005 yards, meaning in order to break the record, Saquon would have had to get no more than 33 carries for at least 101 yards to surpass the record. Not tie it, to surpass it. So, I did the math on this. Saquon averages about 5.8 yards per carry on the season, meaning in theory, Saquon Barkley would have needed to maintain this average in the game for only about 17 to 18 carries to break that record. With how many carries he gets on average per game, which is just over 20, the technical thing I think is like 20.8 yards per carry, but you can't have 0.8 a carry. Anyway, and with the Giants' second to last ranked run defense, again, on paper, this is very attainable. Even without the chance to break the record, he'll still maintain his status as one of only 9 running backs to rush for 2,000 yards. That's not going to change. But who knows if Saquon Barkley will ever get this opportunity to break this record again? Could it happen in 2025? According to Saquon Barkley, his destiny is in God's hands. If it is really fate for Saquon Barkley to break this record, then it will happen. It may just not happen this season. Another reason I'm kind of feeling sad about this decision is the script. Not the actual script that the NFL tries to tell us doesn't really exist, but we know it kind of does in a way. Just kidding. But just the scenario that this whole record-breaking opportunity could have happened. Saquon technically still has, but essentially I'm talking past tense. Saquon had the chance to not only break this league record, but would have done it against his former team in the New York Giants. I mean, hell, in the post-game interview, he said this was his first hat and t-shirt game. I didn't even know that was a thing. The Giants, they just did nothing for Saquon Barkley. They didn't get him quality offensive linemen to block for him. They didn't give him a competent quarterback, a quarterback who the Giants paid $160 million for 4 years in 2023. And for him to only now be on the practice squad of the Vikings, the Giants did nothing for him. Saquon gave them his all, and they let him go, completely disrespected him. Dating way back to before the season began, unless you've been living under a rock, you should know the whole situation by now. But for those who are new to the scene of football, NFL, the Eagles in general, here's what basically happened. The Giants didn't want to pay Saquon Barkley more money than he felt that he earned after playing his franchise tag season. Basically, for Saquon, it was either get paid or walk. Pretty simple decision there. The Giants wouldn't budge, and he was given permission to seek a new team. And that's where our Philadelphia Eagles came in. The Birds nabbed Saquon from the Giants for a 3-year, $37.75 million contract, and he has taken off more than I think anybody truly anticipated. I knew the move was going to be great, like some CMC to San Francisco type of shit, but I never thought we'd be at this point with him just a football field's distance away from league history. Plus, the Giants documented this whole thing on Hard Knocks, so the world knows exactly how all this went down and how gut-wrenching it has been to the Giants since this move was made. But anyway, I digress. The reason is kind of more superficial than anything, but it just would have been cool to see him break the record against the team that did him dirty. And honestly, it would have been amazing for him to stick it to them and all the shit-talking Giants fans who are still salty about the situation and still do shit like burn his jerseys to this day. Okay, moving on to why I am happy about this decision. I think the biggest and most obvious reason to be happy that he is not playing is that there is no longer a risk for him to get injured in that game. Technically, this is what we call a meaningless game. Basically, because of how everything has turned out so far in the NFC, no matter what happens in this game, whether we win or whether we lose, it does not affect us when it comes to our seeding position in the playoffs. We will remain the number 2 seed. Since we have absolutely no chance of getting the 1 seed, this game may be our only opportunity to rest some starters before going into games that have actual implications. It basically gives us an additional, or not an additional, but it gives us the chance to have a bye week that the number 1 seed would ultimately get. With Saquon not playing, this will give him a chance to get extra practice reps in outside of gameplay, as well as give some of our backup guys a chance to get some regular season reps in, which helps them not only in their personal careers, but for the whole team as well. Additionally, we already saw what happens with teams who have nothing to lose. We saw Dallas take several cheap shots at our players, such as the complete illegal contact hit on Devontae Smith during a pass play, and the hit on quarterback Kenny Pickett way after the pass was thrown. I'm talking like, the defender took 3-4 steps and then clocked his ass, which ultimately took Pickett out of the game. The Giants, they're in the same situation. They're out of the playoff picture completely. They're like 3-13. They got nothing to lose. And they just put up 45 points on the Indianapolis Colts, spoiling their playoff hopes. I'd rather not see some asshole Giants player intentionally take out Saquon because of the whole team switching situation. The likelihood of that happening? Realistically, no, but it's never 0. So Saquon getting the rest significantly reduces the chance of that. Overall, setting my emotions aside, I think the move to sit Saquon is best for his health and the overall team. No matter what decision was made, Nick and the team are going to be, quote, in the wrong. You can't please everybody. If Saquon plays, then you're going to have people saying, well, what if he gets injured or doesn't break the record? Then it's all for nothing. Stuff like that. But if Saquon doesn't play, then you're going to have people who are already saying this. You're going to have people saying things like, let him play, let him break the record, let him play a half and sit. Quit being so cautious. You're being dumb for not letting him play, and other similar stuff. Is it a gamble to reduce Saquon's chance of making history for a slim chance of getting to and or winning the Super Bowl? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's one of the biggest gambles that I think we can make as a team. There's a small chance, if none at all, that Saquon can get to the same level in future seasons. But most people, this looks like a once-in-a-lifetime moment to break a record like this. Now, I would absolutely love for him to break this record. Don't get me wrong. And stick it to Eric Dickerson's hating ass, as well as the whole Giants organization. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. You can hear it in his voice during interviews about the decision. I feel like there's still a little part of him that is torn about the whole situation, but we know Saquon, he's very humble about it and doesn't badmouth anyone or argue with the decision for the whole public to see. However, Eagles fans, including myself, would be crushed if he went into that game and suffered a significant injury, especially in a meaningless game. At the end of the day, this decision comes with Saquon's consideration. Before I get into more things, think about last year. A.J. Brown played in a meaningless game, got injured, then was not able to play in the wild card game, and look what happened. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, this whole thing, the decision came with Saquon's consideration. He's mentioned before that breaking records and, his fate, his destiny are in God's hands. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if it's not, then it's not. He has demonstrated incredible humility and sportsmanship to his teammates and to the city of Philadelphia as a whole. Regardless of record broken or not, he's already cemented himself in Eagles and technically NFL history. And who knows, between now and Sunday, things could change. We could see Saquon play a quarter. We could see him play a half. We could see him not play at all. We truly don't know until we actually see what happens. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got them. Our focus is a Lombardi trophy. And if the team thinks resting players, including one who is just 100 yards away from a league record, will get them there and get them a win, then we gotta have faith in that system, whether we like it or not. All right, y'all, before we wrap things up, we're going to get into some predictions for this Week 18 game. Now, look, this is a meaningless game by playoff standards. It looks like a lot of the starters are going to sit. We'll have our quarterback 3 likely to start, while the Giants will probably be going full force. I would not be surprised if we lose, but I don't think we will, because Drew Lock, he either goes for 350 yards and multiple touchdowns or is absolute ass. He already went, for 5 touchdown passes last week. I doubt he's going to replicate that shit again the following week. So, I think we'll get a win, and I think it'll be low scoring, like 21-14, something like that. As for touchdowns, I'll predict that Kenny Gainwell gets one, Jahan Dotson gets one, and Johnny Wilson, I think he'll get one. If our starters rest, we're going to see a lot more action from these guys in particular. All right, y'all, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching at 2nd and 15 or by the full name, 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. You can also find the audio for each and every single episode releasing Thursday mornings on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Player FM, or wherever you get your podcasts. This episode, the 2nd and 15 podcast, and Old City Sports Network are brought to you by Righteous Smelling Craft Jerky. Use our promo code OCSN for 15% off the best jerky around. They got awesome flavors like Soul Survivor, your traditional teriyaki. I think it's teriyaki Balboa. Very punny names like that. Any orders over $50 will get their shipping for free. We're also brought to you by Warlord Beard Oil. Use promo code OLDSPORTS to get 15% off your beard oils, washes, soaps, and so much more. Anything over $75 will also receive free shipping. We're also brought to you by SeatGeek. If you're looking for your next concert, sporting event, or whatever you're wanting to see, download the app and use promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Additionally, if you have to miss your event, they will credit your purchase towards your next event. Robert Hangholt Construction. If you are in the greater Philadelphia region and you need some work done with your roof, windows, siding, deck, etc., call the #1 contractor in the area at 610-348-1066 to get a free estimate on home repairs today. We're also brought to you by Decals by Aaron. For all your Delco products and merchandise, your #1 spot for everything Delco. Check out Decals by Aaron today. You can visit their website at www.decalsbyaaron.com. Finally, we are brought to you by Iron and Steel Threads. Use promo code OldCity10 for 10% off the website. A portion of the proceeds will go to youth hockey organizations. And for all those that have been following Old City shows, don't forget to check out our merchandise. Just click the tab at oldcitysports.com to find merchandise from Check the Net, our own show, 2nd and 15, the Living Room Show, and all the others that are part of the network. Once again, thanks y'all for joining. This is 2nd and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast presented by Old City Sports Network. Happy New Year to you all. We'll see you all next week. Don't forget to stay fly like an eagle, and as always, go Birds.